Hello. Sorry for the delay. We've been meaning to make this video for quite some time, but we're always so busy in the shop. But now that's winter, the season's kind of slowing down, or at least it is for the bike stuff. Still working hard on ATVs and snowmobiles, but wanted to get this out there to those who need it. For those with the VT500s, this video is for you. We're talking about clutch cables. We're talking about clutch cables. And in front of me are three different ones. Now, this one here is the one for a VT500 FT Ascot. It looks like a normal clutch cable. And you know it's that one for the Ascot because towards the control end it says MF8. That is Honda's designation code for the VT500 Ascot. Not the FT500 and not the VT500 Shadow. This is only for the VT500 Ascot. It'll look like this. That's the bike. And then this one back here is for the VT500 Shadow. Note that it looks much like the Ascot one, but it's loads longer. And you know it's the one for the Shadow because towards the controls it says MF5. That is Honda's designation code for the VT500 Shadow. Not the VT750 or the VT700. It's not the VLX. It's only for the VT500 Shadow. Now, it does fit in place of the Ascot one. However, if you have a stock Ascot, there's no place to put all the extra length. Because I got these critters here, side by side. I made it so that the tubes are sitting in the same spot, and we'll make it so that the cables are ending in the same exact spot. There we go. So follow the cables now. Had to get them a little closer together. But check that out, huh? There's an extra six, almost 7 inches, maybe even 8 inches of the cable tube. But the cable length is proportionately correct. So when I have these two side by side, you can see that the inner cable itself is proportionate to this guy. Correct. So whether you have the Ascot cable or the Shadow cable, when you bottom the cable out on the one end, both cables are going to stick out 8 inches out of both. But the difference is the housing. So if you don't have a stock Ascot, it might not be an issue. You might be able to get away with the Shadow 500 cable. And everyone goes for these first because the Shadow 500s are far more common than the VT500 Ascots. They didn't make all that many VT500 Ascots. We're the only people sitting on a whole bunch of them. Speaking of which, I'm in my storage space, and this is why things are messy. This is where we put some of our spare parts and all of our spare parts bikes. So some of these are parts to restore some of your guys' stuff. Some of it is parts for restoring some of our stuff. Some of these will have the potential to be restored. Like this one, despite how scuzzy the tank may be. This is actually a pretty nice Ascot. But getting back to things, you can use the Shadow one on an Ascot. However, if your Ascot is stock, you'll have a whole bunch of cable length and you'll have absolutely no place to put it. So the main difference with regards to the clutch cable that we're talking about today is the handlebars. The Ascots have these kind of low bars, while the Shadows have these guys. So I'll lay them like this so you can see the difference. And it is a pretty big difference. You can tell the Shadow ones stick up another 4 or 5 inches. So then your cable has to be that 6 inches longer that it is for the Shadow. Now the problem is yes, someone does make the Shadow cable, but the Shadow cable is just too long to put on an Ascot. But no one makes the Ascot cable. Good news is we actually have in stock VT500 Ascot clutch cables. These were all custom made. We have them custom made from Motion Pro, and they are of quite nice quality. They come with the protective heat tube, like the Honda ones do. It's this guy, this outer shell. It moves quite nicely. And the cable itself is nice and thick. It comes with the correct plastic sheath on the one end, and the rubber boot on the other end, and the clutch side's threaded sleeve is correct as well. And of course, so is the last little nub on the cable, whatever you'd like to call it, the tang or whatever. But we'll line this up perfectly with our stock VT500 Ascot cable. Again, it's the one that says MF8. That's our stock one. Go down the line, and that's how close the Motion Pro cables are. You can see on the end here, it's about the cable itself is about ½ an inch longer. That's not a big deal, but the tube for the cable is also ½ an inch longer. So when you take this guy, you lube it up. That's the first thing you need to do, is you need to lubricate these. We don't lubricate them because if we were to ship them lubricated, they'll arrive at your door in a big wet mess inside this bag, and it's going to be a bigger mess than you want to clean up. So simply hold this up in the air for a little while, spray some whatever lubricant of your choosing is down that tube, and work the cable back and forth until you start to see it come out the other end. It's really easy to do, and again, we just don't do it because you'd be making more complaints than praises. But yeah, it's a very good alternative to the stock one, and we're the only people with these. No one else has ever made these Ascot clutch cables, and you won't find them in old stock. Honda doesn't make them anymore. Nobody makes them anymore. Motion Pro only made these because we did a custom order. We were able to order them up through a gentleman who used to work there. He was pretty high up in the rankings, so he was able to get through to us a custom set, and we were able to make I think 2 dozen, and we've already sold a bunch, so we won't have too many left. So it's very wise to get these while you can. I believe we're selling them as of right now for around $35-ish, depending where you live. Shipping is minimal, sometimes free. But how do you know if your clutch cable needs replacing? Well, if it's really hard and you feel it binding, that's your sign. Or if your clutch is slipping, it's wise to check out your cable. A bad cable can simulate a drag or a slipping clutch, because if the cable is stuck in position, it could have that clutch, the clutch lever down there. It's underneath the exhaust. Could have it slightly pulled, and if that's the case, it's not going to fully release when you change gears. And some of them get so bad, like this guy, actually seize up. This one's stuck. It's stuck in place. But I hold on to it so you can see what the difference is between the Shadow and Ascot one. So that's another reason why lubing these is so important. You can see I can move this one in and out of the tube quite effortlessly. The stock one, for an Ascot, even though it does move, it doesn't move as quick or as smooth as the Motion Pro one. And I've even lubricated this one. So what happens is the shell, the tube, that's lined with spiral metal casing, and as that metal rusts, it gets snug against the plastic tube of the actual cable, and then sometimes the cable will rust, and that will make this plastic tube swell outward. So then between the two, it gets frozen like this guy did. This is jammed shut. It'll never ever move again. And you can tell it got real bad. And the engine had gotten so hot it actually melted the plastic casing deep down inside here. So that's never going to move again. And once they get stiff like this, and lube doesn't make it great like that, it's only going to get worse, folks. So Just keep that in mind. So yeah, half of the people have just been buying these preemptively because in the future you'll never be able to get these. So might as well get them now. Prolongs the life of your clutch and it ensures you won't have so many headaches in the near future. But if you have problems now, these are still available. Feel free to hit us up. There's a few different ways to contact us. I'll put that in the description along with all the details and specs for these guys. But I'll quick show you, because I'm sure some of you are kind of confused, like, oh, what happens, you know, when you try to put in the shadow one on the Ascot, because it does work. Yeah, it does work. Like I said, you have no place to put all the extra cable to, because in a perfect world, it would end here. But once you've mounted it, you have 6 extra inches here. So where does this all go? It's so difficult to do. It strains the cable so dang bad that I keep dropping it. But this is what it would look like if you were to install this. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't work good. Every time you put a tight bend in the cable is a place where your cable is going to drag. Every place your cable drags is a place where there, you know, is a possible cause of your clutch slipping, and that's no good. So the question is, okay, well, with my stock one or my replacement, how do I route them? Routing them does vary between the 2 years. These VT500 Ascots were made in 83 and 84. In general, the 83s don't have a vacuum pepcock, and the 84s do. But that's no way to tell. Best way to tell is look at the VIN plate. So you can see there it says 1983. It'll say 1984 if it's 84, of course. And that dictates how it is routed. On this one, you can see it goes in through the slot. They all do this. They all go straight from the clutch lever down through the slot of the warning light gauges. And once it goes down there, this one actually goes behind the steering. Behind the steering head, and then it travels down the right side of the radiator. I'll move the camera over there so you can kind of see it. But it goes between the frame and the radiator. There, we can better see it on this one. And it goes underneath the exhaust. It'll go through a little hook, a little loop, where it then bolts onto your clutch cover. The 84s, though, they usually go around the front of the steering head. There's no mega reason why, because the handlebars are the same. The frame is mostly the same between 83 and 84. But what was different was they had changed the wiring harness. So there is different wiring in the front end of the bike here. So maybe between 83 and 84 there was just too much or too little wires up in here to have the cable routed a certain way. But you'll know you'll have it right when there's no major kinks or bends. Again, if you have something like this going on anywhere in your bike, you're having issues. There shouldn't be anything more than a 90-degree turn. It should be very gentle. And you'll know you'll have it right because when you grab the cable with the bars turned all the way to the right, you can move it up and down some. And when you turn it to the left, there's still some play like there is with this one. So that's kind of everything you guys need to know. Again, those are just things to keep in mind. And yes, if you need these, the VT500 Ascot cables, give a shout. They're well worth the time and price for them, because they won't be slow to release like this anymore, and they won't drag, they won't slip. Once you lube them up and install them, they're headache free for a good 20 years or more. But again, give a shout right away, because we do have a very limited supply of these. We're keeping about 12 for ourselves. That's that's how many Ascots we get through the doors on a fairly regular basis. So once they're gone, we'll submit another order, but we can't guarantee how affordable they will be. For you to custom order these in small quantities from Motion Pro is quite expensive. It's a lot more than what we're charging. You know, so just bear that in mind. You're welcome to call them up and ask, and I'm pretty sure they'll say something like, yeah, it'll cost over $70 per cable. So yes, so we're giving you guys a hot deal. We just want to see your bikes remain on the road, and more importantly, we want to see you guys out on them safely. So but yes, that's everything wanted to talk about. So you guys stay well and safe riding.